Asked you, Belly, do you know that erectile dysfunction is a disorder, a mental disorder?
Word of God says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And today we are here to give you more knowledge on mental illnesses, the causes, the types, and how to manage them, and even how to live with these people that have been diagnosed with mental illnesses. So like right now, God wants us to talk to you about mental illness, and we are here to talk about it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that it can help you. You know, there are people, you can have a mental illness and not know it, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, so that is why I want us to talk about, we talked about the causes, we've now talked about the causes. Tell us the different types of mental illnesses, because sometimes I may have a mental illness, but I don't know. Or I may be misdiagnosed. You know, when you go to the internet and then you start typing things, you could be, oh my goodness, I have bipolar, and yet you don't have bipolar. So what's happening? Can you tell us the different types of mental illnesses that are there?
Okay. Maybe just a disclaimer, Bailey, just as you've mentioned, I think many people, most times, you know, you go internet, there's so many people on Dr. Google, they're like, oh, how's this? I have this symptom. I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, I'm not doing this and that.
Yeah.
And then they end up saying, okay, I am so certain that I have depression, or I have schizophrenia, or I have whatever disorder it is.
Bipolar or something.
Or bipolar, yes. And now it's becoming so common because people have become aware of it, which is a very good thing. But now we really have to be critical so that we don't all go diagnosing ourselves.
Yeah.
A diagnosis is usually made by a psychiatrist and a qualified mental health practitioner for that matter. And when it is done, you are told, most times it's in a facility or whatever place, but it's done by a professional. So do not self-diagnose after I do this and tell yourself that you have depression.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll talk about the most common types of mental disorders that we have because of time.
Yeah.
And they're so wide. Like if I asked you, Belly, do you know that erectile dysfunction is a disorder, a mental disorder?
Sophie, you need to look at the camera when you're saying that.
Oh yeah. No, I was just asking Belly a common question because there's so many types of mental illnesses, and I'll just go deep into the common types of mental illnesses. And this is because I just asked her, does she know that erectile dysfunction is a mental disorder?
I didn't know. I thought it was just something like, you know, people having a condition, maybe like diabetes or something. Oh, so it's a disorder.
Oh yeah. So before any diagnosis is done, usually we rule out for any medical causes. So when you go to the hospital, they'll get to do many scans because there are also, as we mentioned at the beginning, there are some disorders that come as a result of medical causes. So you'd have someone involved in an accident and they have some, maybe a type of traumatic brain injury, which is also one of the things that might lead into a mental disorder. But you have to rule it out and say, okay, if this is not a traumatic brain injury, then it could be something else. So all the scans are usually done. The doctor will be there. There is a very large team. There's a whole team that deals with this. So it's not just a psychiatrist and a psychologist and a counselor on board. It's like a broad team because we have to rule out on every other thing that is happening. So the most common types of illnesses, we have them in different categories. We have mood disorders. We have psychosis, which is like the most common type that people will get to relate with faster. We have sexual disorders. We have sleep disorders. And including there's one called apnea. You know, people will say, he just snores. In the night, they're just snoring.
I can't sleep when I can sleep with the voice, or we can sleep with when the music is loud and the radio is on. But when somebody snores, oh my God, I can't get my sleep.
And
so
that's
irritating.
That's the stigma we need to get rid of.
That's stigma. How can somebody snore? How do you just snore?
It is not their choice.
Really?
It's like a mental illness.
It's an illness.
Well, there's a sleep disorder that is very specific. There are different types of sleep disorders, and one of them also presents the same way. We also have sleep apnea. We have the insomnia, but now the one that produces the sound, the snoring, and all that is most times it's as a result of an underlying condition. And when they're in therapy, they actually respond so well. So these are things that you really need to work out, and the stigma that we need to break.
People like me have, we need to break it.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Now, just having brought up that common bit about it, we also have developmental disorders, and I'm just trying to mention this so that you don't go out and really stigmatize these kids. There are kids that we have locked in our doors. huyu aendi nje, huyu
Yeah.
tunamfungia huku ndani. This is an embarrassment to the community. And we have kids just basically they're having developmental disorders. We have autistic spectrum disorder, which mostly it's known as autism.
Autism, yeah.
They have trouble with communication, interaction with other children. They do not develop their speech as soon as they should, and also they have trouble with their motor, like the movement and all that.
Even their limbs are somehow weak.
Yes. So other than that, we also have like it's a broad. It's really broad. We have oppositional defiant disorder in children.
What is that one? Can you explain it?
We were going to the most common ones. This is not a common one.
Not a common
but
one. Okay.
Oppositional defiant disorder is developed mostly by children, and it's where children will have common symptoms are being truant. You don't follow instructions. You become ruly, and at times it comes when it's a point where they cause harm, not intentionally, but they just want to have fun with it. So when they're very young, they'll do it like a small thing. You'll see them getting a cockroach and they pull their legs out. Like it's common for
kids to do that.
You see, but you won't look at it as a problem. But as a child, I know that when I see a cockroach, I want to just hit it and then brush it away. I don't take its limb one by one. You see, it makes them a little different. But parents won't know that. Then they won't follow instructions. In school, the head teacher says, Mark, I want you to do this.
They want to.
It's like, no. Then they go back home. At home, they do like various things. And this is a disorder when it is not managed in childhood, it gets to escalate. And so that's we find others are suffering from conduct disorders. At 16, 25, going upwards, it's no longer now or oppositional defiant disorder. If it was not managed in childhood, it goes on to another step. And now these are now people who go, they strike, they will not care, they can ban school without caring.
They
And you
become
ask them,
bullies.
and they're not remorseful.
And they hurt other children.
They can
and
hurt
then
other
they don't
children.
care.
And also there's this bit about the sexual bit that they want to force people into sexual activities without their consent. They even get to rape them.
Oh no, that is where rape.
But now you see that one is now intentional, and they do not feel the remorse. So if this is not managed now, it goes on again. But you see now this was a childhood disorder. Now it goes on into a personality disorder. It's a very broad thing. And now the personality thing is now called antisocial personality disorder. So they can take a gun and shoot someone, and they won't really care. They can kill 4 people in the family, take a knife,
stab you several times.
So it's like, you see, it's a broad thing. You didn't know it from childhood, but it goes on and goes on and goes on. But Belly, we were not talking about the other disorders. It was the most common disorders.
Most common disorders,
So, other than this, now the most common ones, we have depression.
Now, let's talk about depression a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so depression. So depression is a mood disorder.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about this, we have parts of our brain in our body. It's quite technical, but just when you get to understand how the body reacts, then you know what happens. So at times there could be the various causes that I already mentioned. I mentioned genetics. I mentioned the biological factors. And in the biological factors, at times there's the neurotransmitters. You see, like how your body is built to balance itself. Like I'm happy now. I'm not happy. The body gets to balance itself in a very smart way. I think we were just created in a unique way by God. And now when it comes to a point when that the limbic system, it's called the limbic system, which controls our mood, our appetite, and all that. Then now when there's that imbalance either in the neurotransmitters or maybe there's a psychosocial stressor, you see the causes that might come in, then someone gets into depression. It's just a very small thing. It's just, people will call it stress. I'm just stressed.
I'm stressed up.
They'll withdraw themselves. They don't want to talk to other people. They get into their circles. At times they cry so hard. And you do not notice it because you say maybe they're silent people, and especially for teenagers you might not realize this. So all these things come in, and now when it gets to worst case scenario, then suicide comes in because now they feel hopeless. They're worthless. They feel like people do not care about them. And there's also a very common thing that is the loss of interest in in previously loved activities. It's called anhedonia. So they loved doing
anhedonia. I've learned a new term today.
They loved swimming. They no longer go swimming. They loved taking photos. They no longer taking photos. But you think it's just a personality switch. It doesn't switch like that. Humans are very, very beautiful humans. And by the time such a switch happens, you have to be very careful and check up on them. That's what we will say before suicide comes. Did you check up on someone?
It's tough with those people. When you check up on them, you just become like a bother because you send them a message, they won't respond. Send them WhatsApp, they will tick. You give a call, they won't answer. And then for us, maybe we're not so patient enough. We'll be like, situlimtafuta. They're not responding. So I think we'll talk about that, how to manage and how to reach out to such people. Because at times you can get tired, but now You'll be telling us not to get tired and how not to get tired.
You could be
when
the wrong
dealing
person who's reaching out. You could try someone else that they listen
to reach
to.
out to them. Yes.
Yeah, so that's depression. So it's managed also by it's managed, and it's something that can really be managed by the hospital, maybe through medication.
Yeah.
At times you'll have the antidepressants given, and later on through psychotherapy. So other than depression, we have bipolar mood disorder.
Yeah, talk about
bipolar mood disorder. It's like bipole, so it's two poles.
Two poles.
So there's a bit when someone has manic, it's called mania, and then someone has depressive symptoms. So when you realize everything that I mentioned about depression, then those are the bits when now they become depressed. Now on the mania, they are the people who are loved most because they're industrious.
Yeah.
They'll do the work, they'll go to the kitchen, cook the meals very nicely. They will do everything it takes just to make that the house is good. And at that point, even in offices, they're really loved.
Yeah.
They'll finish the tasks. They'll hit the deadlines.
Yeah.
Because they have extra energy. They have lots of energy. They can walk tall. But they also present with something that we call grandiosity. They have these grandeur thoughts. They'll tell you, I'm the president of Africa.
Yeah.
I'm the president of Kenya. And you're wondering, okay, it's no longer Uhuru Kenyatta. And you know, we are having a conversation with them. In fact, they won't confuse you.
Yeah.
They'll confuse you. They tell you, Belly, oh, aren't you Belly?
Yeah.
They even know you by name.
Yes.
I think I met you last time. You're like, where did you meet me? But they have this thing, they have this sense and entitlement.
Super ego.
Not really. Well, this we just call grandiosity. It's not more on the personality because it's a symptom for the disorder.
Okay.
But when you're having all these things, people won't notice. They're like, this is just having fun.
Yeah.
And then now when they become depressed, now it leads to the point when they even feel they want to get rid of their lives and all that. The suicide comes in. So there's the two poles that they tried balancing it, and this is also a mood disorder. So it's also managed in the same way. Now the other thing we have is schizophrenia. Now schizophrenia is a psychotic illness, and I think this is now the most common, guys.
Yeah, now tell us about it.
It's most common because it's played out in the open, and most times I was just having a chat with Belly, and I was telling her, do you know that the people we call Joneko, I know people have different terms. Kuna wale watasema wenda wazimu, kugoroka, madmen, crazy people. Those are terms, by the way, we don't use in mental. In mental health. We do not say you're crazy, you're insane, you're mad.
Yeah.
All those we call them stigmatizing words. Yes.
Stigmatizing them when we say that.
In fact, they're derogatory terms.
No, but honestly, Taffy, this is somebody who has run mad. Like, they're not normal. So how should we call them if we not say a mad person, a mad woman, madman? Which name should we use so that we stop stigmatizing
Have you ever called someone with diabetes the man with diabetes?
No.
Or someone with malaria? We call someone with malaria, we call them a mad person.
We call them patients. It's because we don't know.
It's an illness.
Yeah, it's an illness, yes, but it has no name. Like, you know, this one, it clearly shows
schizophrenia.
Like
really? Malaria.
Now you need to tell us how do we remove that stigma, because today if you see me running in the market without clothes on, I see you sick with a mental with a questionable mental illness. Well, you're playing safe. Anyway, so tell us, how do we call those people, the people with mental? Okay, now let me change my time so that you've educated me.
The person suffering from a mental illness.
Yeah, we see them in the marketplaces, either walking naked or carrying sacks with dirty things. They'll be picking out things. So that is what you call?
That is something what I need to do. Yeah. It's a cry for help. They need help. This person needs help.
I'm sure they've not been bewitched.
And that's why we're going to talk about the myths and misconceptions.
Those people have been bewitched.
Wameonewa vibaya. Wamerushiwa
kitu. The villagers back at home, they've seen our Taffy is doing well, so they've thrown something.
Until it gets to that point, we need to confirm, have they gone to Madari? Have they tried medication?
So because it's a condition that can actually be helped.
Can be helped.
So we should not look back at our village
and say that a witch is following me and someone is doing this thing. Because guys, just like malaria and any other diseases, when people do not know the information, when people lack knowledge, they begin to stigmatize people, and they begin, because they do not have the information, so you discriminate them because you do not know what's happening. But today the whole purpose of creating this awareness is so that you know what to look out for. And Belly, schizophrenia presents like this. There are things that are called positive symptoms, and these are common. We'll have hallucinations and delusions. Now let me explain it to you so that even when you see someone else, it will make sense to you. When someone is having hallucinations, it affects the 5 senses. The most common are 3. But when someone is affected we have auditory hallucinations. So they'll be hearing people talking to them. So imagine in your good state, you're hearing people talking to you and saying, okay, we're after you, we want you to do this, we are coming to kill you, and you can literally hear them. Because they're out of touch with reality. They're not in our world. So then you see them, they carry their things because they want to run away. Because they're getting the orders. The second thing that they do is they have visual hallucinations. So the visual hallucinations are the hallucinations that they're seeing people that we cannot see. So I'm just seated in my corner and I'm saying, hey, my grandma, why are you coming today? That's why you notice that at times they have lots of conversations with themselves. And it's a symptom. Just like malaria, you'll tell you you'll have like pains on your joints and all that. So for them, they'll have the hallucinations.
And they'll see those.
And they'll see them like it's real happening to them. And then we also have tactile hallucinations that is not so common, but they'll be feeling things that are walking on them. So you'll see them, like trying to hit their hands or trying to hit their skin because they feel like something is walking. I once had a client who ever said, I think like I'm giving birth. And you're wondering, okay, watoto wanatoka kwa magoti. You see, and it's to them, it's actually a real thing. So you really not,
and you can't downplay it.
You can't downplay it, and it's really wrong to do that. And when I'll be talking about stigma, it'll be good to know some of the things that you don't need to tell them. You don't need to tell them it's all in your head. I mean, what do you mean it's all in my head? Like, I can feel it, it's real. So it's all in your head for us, derogatory term. And so you see all these symptoms, when you see them, utasema, huyu ni mwenda wazimu. But you see, when you imagine the things that I've told you, at times they have delusions, and the delusions could be persecutory. So they feel like someone is after them. They really want to kill them. And watachukua mawe, because they want to defend themselves. I mean, if you're in danger, like a normal person, what would you do? So you'll take a stone or something, you're defending yourself. When they're throwing them, maybe you look like the grandma that they're seeing in their eyes. And now you're coming, they're mistaking you. So they become violent, but in your head you're like,
what's wrong with this person?
But most times also they're not violent. That's that's a myth. That's a myth. You can even cross on their side and they'll just be fine. They won't hit you. So that's also a myth. They're never violent. And when you see those are now the positive symptoms, and now they have the negative symptoms now that are downplayed also. These are won't be noticed as often. And they'll also lose interest in pleasurable things, but they'll neglect their hygiene. In fact, 2 weeks can go by and they won't want to shower. In fact, unawasumbua when you tell them go take a shower, like, what for? So they also have these negative symptoms. But you see, that's schizophrenia, and it's a psychotic illness. When put under medication, perfect humans. In fact, like a sickness, you won't see them on the street. You'll see them coming back. But what the society does is, when they leave, they come back, they are not supported. They can't go back for the clinics, they can't get the medications. And because of that lack of support, you see them really all the time, they get to relapse. And you keep on calling them wenda wazimu, wagoroki, all those terms, because you do not know. But if only you knew and you even supported them to get help, then they'll be just like, a normal human being. Exactly.